Colin Brennan here from Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's the end of the year, and you know what we're doing. Reactions based around some of our favourite songs, songs from bands or artists or albums that just impressed us this year. Ones that are available on YouTube as well. So it might not necessarily be our favourite track from the album in question, but it's a track that we loved. And this comes from Million Moons, the post-metal atmospheric rock post-rock trio, Million Moons. It's called Voices of the Wild, taken from the new album, latest album, I Maybe Sometime, which came out earlier this year on Ripcord Records. Immediately, there was a thing about this album that grabbed me, and it was that, hey, it's a concept album, and it's a straight-up concept album about Captain Oates. So you know the Captain Oates story, the diary of Robert Falcon Scott.
Yep.
Basically, you all know the line. I am just going outside and maybe sometime. Of course, the doomed Antarctic or Arctic? Antarctic, innit? Antarctic expedition. That one from like
Yeah, I think it's Antarctic.
11, something like that. Very early in the century, previous century. Um, yeah, so it's inspired by it is an Antarctic. It was an Antarctic explorer. I've just found it as well. Captain Lawrence Oates and his self-sacrifice. So I thought that was fascinating immediately. I'm like, okay, a post-rock album based around that. That was like it felt like it couldn't miss. And unsurprisingly, they didn't. All the songs are fantastic in their own right and offer up different varying tales of feelings, particularly from its instrumental as well. I've chosen Voice of the Wild because it was the first single and it was the most attention grabbing at the time. It's one of the more reasonable length ones as well at 4:51. I think it's an interesting way to experience the whole post rock thing that they got going on. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I've never heard of them at all. Um, yeah.
Does it
Most-
interest, excite, thrill you in any way to know, okay, here's an album based around that story?
Uh, yes. Well, I'm going to be boring and go yes and no here because I think the story is cool. I think it's a great story for a concept. I think it. I think the difficulty sometimes with concepts when it's instrumental is it puts an extreme amount of pressure both on the band to try to deliver a story through emotion,
Mhm.
basically. Whereas obviously if there are lyrics, it's a significantly easier to deliver a concept if you're able to tell a story on the way. But I also think it puts a lot of pressure on the listener to try and grab that. And it's what, and maybe, I don't know, maybe makes me and some people over judgmental then, because I guess I would look at this going into it knowing what the story is. Whereas modern music, whether I agree with it or not, it might just be a song like this comes up on a rock sort of internet radio station. And would I then be able to listen to this song as a song on its own, not knowing who it was, and understand that there was a concept behind it? And the truth is, you wouldn't be.
Hmm.
So there's always that kind of balance with it. I think it's a, I think concept albums for instrumental bands is a brave thing to do. So I don't think I like instrumental music. Like no issue with bands doing instrumental stuff at all. Like I'm more than happy for that. In fact, we're more than enough bands doing music with lyrics. Totally happy for there to be a few more that don't have it in there as well. So like I'm happy about that, and I'm excited to listen to it for that thing.
Well, they
I
are.
would it's just that yeah, delivering a concept without the weapon of being able to write words down is always a challenge. I think it's got to be.
Well, I think they're giving you a little helping hand with this one. It is called Voice of the Wild, and they have done a separate image, which isn't the album cover. That's not the album cover. So I feel like at least there's a hint towards what they're going with for this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Good hope.
knowing what it is, then going in and listening to it will be a different experience, I think, to just listening to it and not knowing what it was. You might get the same level of enjoyment out of the song either way, but if they can capture the concept when you know what the concept is, that surely elevates like your experience with it, you know?
True, but how often do you think that actually happens these days? Do you ever enter any track or album or release? Certainly, let's say album, because that's a bigger ask upon you that like you would ever just enter an album with zero knowledge about it. Like, when was the last time you generally did that? Because I would say it's been a very long time since I've just gone, boom, and knew nothing, didn't even know what I was. check it out.
Yeah, but I think like we not because not like trying to do it like because like hey we're cool or anything like that, but I think we have to
Oh,
separate
we are.
ourselves from what might be a normal listener because we are literally picking an album, reading a press release, and then listening to
Yeah.
it. You know,
And often
I
going through stages as well. Like we don't just get the album. It might be singles in the build up and
yeah.
everything along the route. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and then you might, interview the band and like, you end up kind of growing like I guess this knowledge of them,
Relationship
prior
almost.
to yeah. Whereas I don't know, it definitely doesn't happen much with me anymore, but it's occasional, where I will just put something on and maybe at the bottom of my music player it says like other bands like this and I'll click on a couple of things. Or sometimes I put on the playlist that come out on a Friday that just say new music playlist and I just put it on and let it play
Jesus,
through and I go, oh, there's a song I like. Who's that? Oh, I'll add that to my playlist.
you're insane.
As I said, less common these days than it would have been in the past, but there must still surely be people out there who just like say, play new metal to me and it starts playing
Ooh.
or new rock to me and maybe this song comes on in the mix and they go, oh, that's really cool. I'll add that. And I'll now add that one song. Unfortunately, with the way that music is consumed these days, the likelihood is that I add a song and not an album, unless they really, really like the song and decide to explore further. At that point, they may have listened to the album before they read up on it, and then they hear it's a concept. And it'd be interesting to know for that person, did they work out it was a concept while listening to it before they heard it was a concept?
Ooh.
But that's more of a general approach on concepts in general, I think, rather
Yeah,
than
we
necessary for Million Moons. We've kind of digressed a bit.
No, but it's always interesting, and that's the point. Sometimes we do go off on these tangents, but it is related because ultimately this is a clear-cut concept album. This isn't open to interpretation. Now, obviously, musically, you can take vibes and feelings from it, but
Yeah,
it's quite clearly about that failed Antarctic expedition. Songs are Terra Nova, Uncharted Waters, Voice of the Wild, Intruders in a Strange World, I May Be Sometime, Endure, Overcome, and Aurora. Even that track listing tells you like each step by
yeah,
step what's going on. So you're not wrong to do that. But let's get into the song, see what you think about it anyway. In three,
yeah.
2, 1, go. Is that feel suitably, I don't know what's the word, posted up? Posted down? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, musically, it's a little different, I guess, to what I was expecting because
Mm,
the tempo was higher than I was expecting. I don't know why. I was expecting a slower, more melancholic kind of song.
yep.
And while some of the melody is that, like, it's got a higher tempo and it's actually got some reasonably heavy sections in it, you
Yeah.
know, like hard rocky kind of stuff, man. So, mu like
Yeah,
musically,
agree.
just as a track, it's easy to listen to and it's enjoyable. It transitions well. There's lots of little bits and pieces going on. Nice kind of combination of keys and different bits and pieces like that. You know, the odd effect here and there with that more traditional kind of instrument. Neat guitar work, good riff, nice sort of idea. Just the transitions. I like transitions in songs anyway. I like it. Like it keeps you kind of guessing. It keeps you. And I think it's important even more so in an instrumental track because you got to stop. You know, there's no vocals coming in to sort of change the direction or anything like that. So if you just try and sort of play an instrumental song for 4.5 minutes and just follow the same melody throughout, it's gonna be hard to keep people interested. So you got to move it up and down and throw different things into the mix. And I thought they did that really, really well. So as a song on its own, it's well written, well played, easy to listen to. Uh, yeah, it's just a good song.
Great song. But yeah, I appreciate you. Glad you liked it. It's kind of similar to what I said in the other video. For me, like this is one of those albums in full, really, but also this particular track to talk about this, where it comes along and it's an easy win for them. I am an easy lay for them. They come along, they ain't got to do much to wine and dime. You just got to throw me those flowers, which is this music, and next thing you know, I'm half naked in the bedroom with them.
Yeah.
That I'm going off tangent there with that one, but yeah, that's the basic idea.
Yep.
They can win me over very easily with this sort of music. It just so happens I did find it incredibly captivating, and before you talked about like the concept. Obviously, you know it, so like it's maybe a different.
hmm
But like, did you get the sort of vibe, the feeling of wild and like cold and being out there alone in this place?
No, but I tell you what I did get, and this is what
Go
I
on.
like. At first, it confused me why I was getting this, and then it started kind of making sense to me, which was so I didn't. That's what I was looking for, right? And I think that's more to do with the picture. So I'm looking at a picture of, the Antarctic or Arctic landscape. So I'm looking at cold.
Yeah.
And then I didn't necessarily get cold from the music. I got this occasional melancholic kind of vibe. And then I
Mhm.
found that the transitions of where it suddenly gets heavier and all that actually made it like more like it was unpredictable, right? And that's what I think I started getting. So it was like an unpredictable sound, and I didn't know what the song was going to do. And then I started thinking about what something like the Antarctic would mean to me. And then the other thing that I started getting, and at first this was one that confused me more, and it was more like space planets. And I was
Mm.
like, okay, where am I going with this? And then I kind of, I don't, this might just be a completely personal thing, and I'm not saying this is what the band meant to do in any way. Um, but then I started thinking about what the Arctic and the Antarctic are to me, and to a degree, they are alien. That, I've never been there. I never likelihood of me going to one of these places in my life. I've seen pictures of it, and I've seen it in movies in the same way that I've seen landscapes of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn's rings and whatnot. So to me, it is almost like an alien world. And that's kind of what I was getting from it. It was almost this unpredictability within the track, which I kind of thought, like, if I was there on this expedition and I'm there and I walk out of my tent in the morning, that what I am going to be seeing, I think, would be this alien world with unpredictability, like just around me. And that's what I was kind of getting from it. So I don't know, like I said, that's just who knows whether I've just done something that they were like, well, that's not what we fucking meant whatsoever. Damn, we've ruined it. But maybe everyone will take their own thing from it. But yeah, so I guess I think that's a good thing though, right? Because the natural thing for my brain to go to is I'm looking at the image, I've been told what the concept is, I know the story from history, cold, that sort of thing. Almost like I might subconsciously lead myself into that. And I think that's what I was doing at the beginning, is I was trying to find that, and I wasn't necessarily finding that, but I was finding these other things, and then it wasn't making sense. And then I started, yeah, I know it sounds stupid, but you just imagine yourself there, and you walk out of a tent, and it's minus 42 fucking degrees, and like, you're in this to what is essentially like an alien world, and anything can happen at any moment. You don't know if you're going to live through the night or whatever. And I think that's what I started getting from it. This unpredictability and this almost alien sounds. So,
I
but
think
yeah.
you're probably closer than you think you realize yourself. The fact they have a track called Intruders in a Strange Land, I think you've nailed it.
Mm.
I don't think I can add anything there. What an incredible
But
way
I
to
think
sum up that. I think it makes
probably
so
means
much
they
fucking
nailed it
sense. Well,
then.
yeah, they
I,
nailed it. Yeah, absolutely. But ultimately, you said yourself, and I agree with you. Instrumentally, when you're doing instrumental storytelling, it's the hardest thing you can do in the world because ultimately you're not got the lyrics to actually back up your storytelling. So you can give anyone, even if it's not necessarily what they intended. I'm sure most artists really, really don't care if necessarily you get the specifics, but more
mm,
that you get something from it. If you're feeling something and creating an imagery and thinking about strange lands and alien worlds, because you're absolutely right. You said you used you're unlikely to ever see the Arctic or Antarctic. I think it's literally you're never going to see them. I mean, what circumstance in our lives now is going to ever result in us ending up in the Antarctic or the Arctic? So it is you're absolutely right. Pure alien. It's the comparative to how you will never see Mars. You are never going to see those icy lands of the Antarctic.
you tell Elon Musk that he's going to get us there, mate.
Oh yes, there we go. That yeah, that's it's an incredible thing to take away. I'm glad you got that from it. I really am. It is Voice of the Wild. Um, Million Moons. You got any thoughts on this? What you know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.